At what point does a watch brand go from being a micro brand to not a micro brand? I'm serious, I want to know. If you guys know, comment it down below for my education. Today we have in the Christopher Ward C63 Sealander GMT in for review. I've been wearing it for a couple weeks now and I truly don't want to give it back. This watch has been sent to me by Christopher Ward to talk about, so thank you guys. I feel so legit having like actual real brands send me their watches to review their stuff. Ah. From having this for a couple of weeks, I have deduced I want one. But the C63 Sealander GMT isn't without its flaws either. So today we're going to talk about what I love about this watch, what I hate about this watch, and would we consider the C63 Sealander GMT an homage to the Explorer 2? Let's get into it. This watch just like feels like a tool watch. It oozes classic tool watch. The brush steel, those healthy loom plots, extremely sporty, almost aggressive hands. This is a watch that makes you want to go camping or chop firewood, eat red meat. I don't know, whatever boys do, whatever, I don't know. It's a watch that looks like it just wants to be abused. This is the watch I would take wild camping in Scotland or on a cycling trip or on a beach holiday. For me, I wouldn't dress this piece up past casual dressing. I love the design language of this watch. It kind of reminds you of a certain Rolex Explorer 2. But I think it has enough differences as well that it doesn't feel like a downright replica. So baton indices rather than the circular ones on the Rolex, very different hands, and lots of those little mindful design details, the little pops of orange, even down to the orange tip on the second's hand. A very timeless, sporty design. There's a very slight minimal tapering in the bracelet. The clasp feels a bit meh to me. It doesn't spice up my life, but I also don't hate it. It's just it's a strong meh from me. But a fantastic glide micro extension. It still amazes me and confuses me how many watches still don't have some kind of micro extension. It's criminal. And of course this watch is a GMT. So the two white hands gives us local time and the orange hand indicates another time zone. I have mine set to Toronto time, so I can always see what my troublemaking mother might be up to. One of the big draws to the C63 Sealander GMT, for me, was the specs. It has a 39mm case, the perfect size, height of 11.85 millimeters, and 150 meters water resistance. Get in. Then inside we've got the Sellita SW330-2 movement, giving you up to 56 hours of power reserve. To set this watch, you just unscrew and then gently pull. Position 1 is manual wind. Position 2 is your date and GMT settings. So rotating clockwise for the GMT hand and counterclockwise to set the date. And position 3 is your time setting. This watch also has central hacking hands and a screw down crown. So you're getting a lot for £900. Inside this watch you have the Sellita SW330-2 movement. I have absolutely nothing against off-the-shelf movements. I know in-house movements are really in vogue right now and that seems to be what people prefer. But when you say Sellita, I hear affordable, easy servicing. Everyone loves the in-house movement till the servicing bill comes in. And it will come around. That time will come around. So this is the updated movement from the SW330-1. Christopher Ward were actually the first brand to use it in the C63 Sealander. Great movement, which also allows the price of this watch to be what it is. I also really respect it when watch companies just tell us the truth about what movement's in it and they don't try to tart it up and call it in-house. we're looking at you, Tag Heuer. And this watch has a display case back so you can see all of the movement goodness. We've got minimal decoration, but a little bit of engraving on the rotor that I can see. Absolutely no opinion on the display case back. It's not the prettiest movement in the world, but also sometimes people like to see what's going on inside of the watch. It can be quite cool. Now, onto the stuff I don't like. And there's not much. I'm actually really worried that I've been so complimentary towards this watch that people are gonna think Christopher Ward is like paying me to say this shit. And they're not. I just honestly really like this watch, but there are a few things that I don't like quite as much. Christopher Ward seems to have had like a lifelong struggle with their logo. Some of the models have the name logo at the 9 o'clock, which is just, oh gosh, it's just so off-putting. I don't like it. I don't like it. This one, fortunately, is at the 12 o'clock, but I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just that the font doesn't light up my world. I don't hate the font, but something does feel a bit missing. The branding doesn't feel fully cohesive yet. Like the font from the Christopher Ward to the automatic GMT just doesn't feel aligned in some way. I don't know. I'm not a design expert. I could be talking out of my ass. I don't know. This is how I feel. Moving on to the bracelet, which I think could do with a bit more tapering, but that's just a personal taste thing. My husband doesn't care for the counterbalance on the seconds hand, but I kind of like it. It feels really sporty to me. Overall, it's just a few little branding and identity aspects that are missing for me. You know what I would do? Maybe Christopher Ward's already doing this and I just am not aware of it yet, but I would be collaborating with all of the explorers of right now. Anyone who's doing like an Antarctica expedition. I know there's a British girl right now. Her Instagram name is Polar Preet. She's an Arctic explorer. I don't know if she already has like a watch brand partnership, but I would be partnering with all of the explorers that are doing stuff right now. Using the awesome people of right now to build up that brand identity and heritage, so I'm not looking at the watch and thinking of what Rolex has done before, rather than what Christopher Ward are doing right now. Maybe they already are doing this, but I think particularly this watch is a great one to be spamming all over current explorers, collaborating with like the Army, the Navy, being what Rolex and Tudor and IWC were right now. People are crying out for it. I think they're looking for that next brand to do those things, and I think Christopher Ward could be that brand. Oh gosh, this one, I don't know. It depends on what you consider homage, but I think it's really skirting some lines. It's truly on the line, and it depends on how wide of a net you cast of what an homage is. Like, take the Hulk, the Rolex Submariner. You have the obvious homage watches like a Steinhardt, but then you have the Oris Aquis. It's kind of got similar elements and maybe it's inspired by the color, but there's enough unique things about it that it's kind of its own thing. Do you consider the Tudor Black Bay 36 an homage of the Explorer or of the Oyster Perpetual? Do you consider the El Primero an homage of the Daytona? It depends on how wide of a net you cast. I personally don't cast a very wide net at all, unless it's like an out-and-out replica with a different brand name on it. With the C63 Sealander, there's no getting away from it. When you see it, you instantly think Explorer 2. At least I do. There's so many similar design elements in the fixed bezel, in the orange color pops, but that's kind of where the similarities end. So many of the design elements are so different. The baton indices rather than the circles, the altogether different hands, the date placement, and the lack of cyclops, which I frankly prefer on the Sealander. And even in those smaller details, like the little numbers and the orange pops around the minute track and the circles on the fixed bezel. It's definitely skirting some homage lines, but I think I'd be slow to call it an out-and-out homage. If you're someone like me who's always loved the look and the feel of the Explorer 2, but the Explorer 2 is out of reach for whatever reason, budget, size, availability, whatever, this is a great alternative. For me personally, I'm sized out of the Explorer 2, wouldn't even consider adding it to my collection. It's too big on my wrist. But the Sealander at 39mm finally makes this watch aesthetic that I love attainable. I'm really worried that this review is so complimentary. People are gonna think like Christopher Ward has kidnapped me and has me like locked in a basement until I say all the nice things. But guys, this watch has truly won me over. I see why people love this watch so much and love this brand so much, and I could truly see myself adding this piece to my collection. I think I should put my name down for one. I love it. Anyways, guys, as always, this is just my opinion. This is just my personal perspective. I want to hear about yours. What do you guys think of Christopher Ward? Do you love him? Do you hate him? Do you have one? I don't know. Tell me everything in those comments down below. And do all those things to feed the algorithm gods. Give this video a like, comment, and subscribe. Do it. And until next time, you beautiful, fabulous, wonderful watch nerds. Bye.